Kind of go through the license types real quick. The first license type is the hardware type. It is a dongle or a key. It's a hardware device that serves as a copy protection for CAMWorks by rendering the software inoperable when the device is not attached to the computer. So the CAMWorks license is programmed and flashed onto this device, which is plugged into the computer's LPT port or USB port. The copy protection device CPD number is on the number printed on the dongle. Okay, one big note there, the Microsoft Windows requires the Sentinel device driver to be installed on the computer or to detect that hardware device. So the dongle looks just kind of a lot like a flash drive. You can see some different CAMWorks dongles we've had over the years of what they look like. So they look like that there in the picture. And again, that is a hardware device that plugs right into the computer, and Windows requires a driver for that as well. So the license is stored on that guy. And we only require those for only the hardware types license, which we only have one hardware type. Okay, the next type we have is the software types. And there are two software types of licenses we offer. One is the standalone node lock license. This method uses authorization codes to activate a single seat license to a specific computer. The software must be registered and that computer's information submitted via a generated license request file. HCL Geometric generates the license file per the info in that license request file. So kind of what this is going on is first you must use the CAMWorks License Manager to do a software license, including a standalone node lock. And that license request captures your MAC address, and they encrypt a code back to you in that license file. That license will only work on that given MAC address. And the standalone license is for a single designated computer, and it's not to be used over network. It's for one computer, one PC, so that license will always work on just that one computer. Okay. The next big one here that the main focus we're going to focus on today is the floating network license type. It is also a software type. It also uses the CAMWorks License Manager. And it does not require a dongle as well. I know some people's floating network license also require a dongle. Ours does not. It is all strictly software type on our floating network license. Okay. And floating network license, this method also uses authorization codes to activate single or multiple seat license to a specific host computer, such as a server, which hosts the license. And then the multiple client computers can then reference this host computer, which then distributes the license modules out across the network. The software must be registered, and that hosting computer's information is submitted via generated license request file, similar to the standalone network license. And then HCL generates a license file per that info in that license request file. So its license too is read in through the MAC address of that computer, and it's encrypted, and it is licensed across that to only work on that license will be hosted on that server or host computer, and then can be distributed among multiple computers, and like here in the diagram. So you can have the license server here, and this is a diagram depicts for two current users, so it's got two seats, so two guys can check out a license from the single computer, and these other guys can't use it because that's only got two seats and it's in use. Now these guys over here can release that license back to the license server, and then one of these other guys could check it out. So that's kind of the concept of the floating network license. Now one way I like to kind of simplify how the floating network license work is I like to use an analogy of a library and checking out a book. I like to call this server or hosted computer, aka the library. And then CAMWorks has all these modules such as 2.5 axis milling, 3-axis milling, turning. I like to call those individual modules books. So let's say you have the library has 2 copies of 2.5 axis milling. Okay, sitting there available for people to check out and aka read that book. So that means up to 2 users can check out that license from the book and read that book. Now, if there's only the book called 3-axis milling and there's only one of those available in the library, that means one user can check it out and read the book. No one else can read that 3-axis milling book until that user has returned it back to the library so someone else can check it out. So the floating network license works very similar to that same concept as checking a book in and out of the library. So I hope that makes sense and helps clarify how the floating network license and functions. So then kind of the advantages and disadvantages of floating licenses is a common question here. So we'll review that real quick. Some of the advantages: the licenses are available to all workstations connected to the company's network because it's typically hosted on that server. So it's maximizing the software asset utilization. So that means different computers can use it up to the number of seats available. Okay, licenses are then shared between multiple workstations, which is an advantage. So you can have one seat of license, one seat of 2.5 milling, but two different people can use it. They just can't use it at the same time. It can be floated from one computer to the other person's computer. Okay, it's cost effective, so less licenses are required when a company has many users. So if you have two different users that are using software at different times, you can buy one license. Okay, and then when the application is closed, that license is released back to a central pool, so it's available for other users. So that's kind of nice there. Let's say if you have one computer, guy uses a third shift programmer. If he's only got a standalone license, no one else can use it except his computer on third shift. So whereas if he turns his computer off, the guy on first shift can use it, type concept. So those are the big advantages there. Now, some of the disadvantages of floating network is when the server network is down, all users lose access to the software because its license can't be obtained if it can't talk to the server or the hosting computer. One of the other disadvantages is that it's more expensive than comparable standalone licenses. So there is a charge for a floating network license type, an upcharge on it. That's because it's got more technical support and more software, additional software development has to occur to do a floating network license, which we will see the different license and software manager here shortly. And then it's a disadvantage too that it's not as suitable for single user installations. So typically it's best for single users to just, they're always going to use the license to stay standalone network. And kind of defeats the purpose if you only have one computer one time all the time using the license of the floating network. But it can be done. So there's some quick advantages and disadvantages of a floating network license. And then one of the other disadvantages of floating network licenses is more complex to set up. So as you'll see, there's more steps to set up and configure a floating network license.